Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our third live stream where I'll be fixing your college apps for free on YouTube. We already have 3 viewers. That's incredible. I guess you guys were waiting for me to hop on. Thank you so much for joining. Super helpful if you guys could just type in where you're tuning in from and what grade you're in, since that will help me custom tailor my advice so that it's more useful to you guys. And I dropped the link in the chat. But if you guys want to be considered for free YouTube college app review, whether you're a sophomore, junior, senior, transfer applicant, grad school, scholarships, you name it, just fill out this form over here. So far, we've already had 23 people fill out this form, which is pretty incredible. And yeah, I'll just keep doing it until forever. And today I wanted to show off one profile, but before we begin, again, I wanted to acclimate you guys and explain this Harvard admissions rubric, which I think you guys will find very, very helpful. I do think that this rubric is kind of, I'm sorry, I'm looking to the side because I have another monitor, but I do think that this rubric is a little imperfect. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Yeah. Is this working? Oh, yay. Great. Now you can see me and the screen. Oh, this is so great. I do think it has some limitations, and I may even try to create a new rubric better here today. First year UVA, awesome. We have Lua from Texas, a senior. We have Jinho, who's a first year UVA. So for those of you who are watching this as college students, first year, second year, we are furiously working on a transfer guide. So I know a lot of you guys have hotly requested that, and we'll be sending it out to you guys very, very soon. Okay, so that this admissions rubric, one of the biggest things is that I really think there should be a category between 1 and 2, especially for extracurriculars. It kind of hops from secondary school contribution to truly unusual. What should kind of go in the middle here is essentially like national awards, like something along the lines between if you have 3 to 5 really good national or international awards, that helps so much. Truly unusual, there's different ways to approach truly unusual. And this is just something that is so helpful for you guys to know, whether you're a junior, whether you're a senior, whether you're a first year and you're looking for jobs, things like that. But truly unusual can mean you got really, really niche in one dimension. Let's say, I know a lot of you guys are like engineers, computer science or engineering. Now, to be truly unusual, there's very common types of engineering and there's very uncommon types of engineering. A more uncommon type of engineering, for example, is my friend did environmental engineering, which by the way is not a very popular major. When you guys apply for less popular majors, your odds of getting in are much higher. Already that's more unusual. And then to get truly unusual, you want to get even more specific. So for him, he said he was very interested in water. And specifically, he was interested in like waste management and how you might purify water after it's been used or after it's been muddied. And so that is a really unique brand, right? So that's one way that you can get truly unusual. Another way you can get truly unusual is just very simply by combining 2 or 3 different academic disciplines. So I had another student this year, he had won a bunch of history awards. He did like National History Day, and he was very interested in highlighting minority figures. So like Asian Americans who were forgotten by history. And he threw in some AI visualization. So he would bring out like old pictures and old exhibitions of Asian Americans who were forgotten, and then would bring them back to life using these AI, basically reconfigurations, or I think like Iron Man. But so that's another way to make your extracurricular category stand out. The other thing too right now is I think a lot of you guys aren't really considering rec letters. Whether you're transferring, whether you're a junior or senior, like the rec letter game begins 6 months in advance, 6 months at least. You don't want to be going and, on your hands and knees begging your teacher for an amazing rec letter, 6 weeks or even a few weeks before the deadline. They're going to be really swamped. So how does this even work? Well, what you want to do is you want to start meeting with them and asking them to be advisors on really key projects, on really interesting opportunities. This also ties to extracurriculars. So for example, like that student that I just mentioned, he would be asking his history teacher to be a mentor for this really cool project that he was doing about highlighting Asian American minority figures. And that being said, a great rec letter should feature like 2 or 3 different elements. One thing that it really needs to talk about your character. It needs to talk about who you are as a human being, not just as a student. So many rec letters I see these days, they're just a regurgitation of like, oh, this student is incredibly smart, incredibly talented, incredibly hardworking. And that's the whole letter. That is a big fat mistake. Like really like 50, 60% of the letter should highlight super key examples of you being super humble, super diligent, super down to earth, super noble, honorable. If there was a moral dilemma, someone was cheating and you had a really interesting solution where, you know, you advised the teacher and said someone was cheating, but you didn't just like rat someone out. We've had rec letters where one student talked about how he picked up like one piece of trash every day, you know, for 1,000 days straight. We had another rec letter where a kid was on their hands and knees and they're like scrubbing the tiles and reorganizing a teacher's classroom before the start of the new year. So that's the kind of stuff that is really impressive and makes for incredible rec letters. All right. Personal just means essays, essentially. But one thing to note is like there's such a world of a difference between a good essay and an outstanding essay. So the orange means the percentage of students who wrote an outstanding essay. It says that 0.03% wrote an outstanding essay. For the purposes of this exercise, we can just say less 1%, right? If you write a top 1% essay, your odds of getting admitted are 50%. Now, that's not to say that like if you have a godlike essay, it will just, you know, it can basically override bad grades and bad extracurriculars. No, you kind of need like at least a 2 across the board, and the essay could push you in. So that's where we come in. We're very, very good at editing essays, particularly for Asian American students, East Asian, South Asian, and also engineers and STEM kids. We like most of the kids we work with are of that background. All right, so I wanted to take a look at this student's profile today. Let's take a look at the resume and see where this student stands on our rubric. Okay, so the student is from New York, Staten Island, and they do some research. As I mentioned in some of the previous streams, research, let's say 10, 20 years ago, was more of a nice to have. Today, it's more like a requirement. It was like 20 to 30%. I heard from this former Dartmouth, former and Ivy League admissions officer, 20 to 30% of students had research. Nowadays, it's more like 80 to 90% of students have some kind of research. That's particularly key for STEM applicants. Humanities research is like way harder to crack into, so they'll give you a bit of grace. But if you're in STEM, they expect some kind of research. The best cream of the crop is your first author, you're working with a professor, you've been published, you've been validated. That's honestly counts as a national or international award. But you can also do independent research on your own and just say, hey, I had to do this AP research project, and then I took it to the nth level. I was supposed to write 3,000 words, I wrote 30,000 words. That's crazy. Or I decided to use this project and then publish it, work with another formal organization. I turned it into a more reputable study by working with this nonprofit. So that's how you can make your research look more legit. It's just, there's like basically different gradients. You don't have to think of it as, I got into a research program, I didn't get into a research program. There's many different ways of making your research look legit. You could self-publish it, you can submit it to journals and contests, you can work with a teacher, again, connected to rec letters. If you do really interesting, fascinating research on your own, let's say you decided to research and do something really quirky. You were researching different anime or something like that, and looking at how anime affects student motivation. And you did like a quirky research project like that, that ties to academics, extracurricular, and rec letters. And you could even write about it in your essay. So there's many different ways to make research work. All right, so here we have very legit medical research, comfortably placing this student in at least a 2, maybe even a 1. I don't see anything truly unusual yet. It looks a little cookie cutter. My friend's place, what's going on over here? It's not really clear what this service organization does. Strategic policy goals. I'm not actually sure what the impact is or what kind of volunteering they do. So that's a little unclear. But it looks like the student has been doing it all year long for 4 years. What year is it? 2026, but 23, 24, 25. Well, 2026 just started, so 3 years. Key club, more service. So I would say it's a very, very cookie cutter profile. It's like a very classically attitude. There's nothing truly unusual. And that's kind of what's hurting some of the students right now. You can still do truly unusual stuff, like very close to the deadline. Let me give you another example. Very, very similar to this student, like Asian medicine, right? And I was looking at this the student over here. I was advising him. He's a junior. Sorry, wifey just walked in through the door. I was saying hi. So let's take a look at his profile over here. adding in that unique twist. I was looking at his profile and everything is super research oriented, medicine oriented. And I was like, bro, we have to throw them some kind of interesting curveball. You know what I mean? You feel me? So he decided to de-emphasize actually his music, and he kept participating, but only so he could say, I've been doing it for 4 years. He wasn't pursuing like first chair, becoming a leader. And then he added this curveball over here, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, as you saw, the students from Alabama. How many Asian kids from Alabama are doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Probably only him. And how many of them are aspiring doctors? Like very few. So you can pick this up like 6 months, 12 months before the deadline, and it still really helps. Plus he wrote a really interesting essay about it. And then, you know, in his essays, he's highlighting not like medicine constantly, but he's writing about being an Eagle Scout. And that's also very unique for an Asian applicant. So I would rate this student's resume based on what we see at a comfortable 2, maybe even a 3. It's like, I don't know if there's really that crazy special distinction. We need those awards. If you guys don't have international, or I would say if you're an international student, you do need international honors and awards. If you are an American citizen, you will need some level of national awards as well, unless you're in a giant state. If you're in California or Texas or New York, those are considered really competitive states. And if you win an award from the state of California, that's really impressive because California is bigger than most foreign countries. All right, let's take a look at the essay. Another thing that I want to acclimate you guys to, introduce you guys to, just so you have some sort of reference. I feel like, you know, most of the times we jump into the admissions game and we don't even know what the rules are. So my goal with these live streams is to teach you what the rules are. These rules will apply not just when it comes to college admissions, transfer admissions, graduate school admissions. It's going to apply in the real world when you're trying to get a job as well, especially in a world of AI where I think like a lot of mediocre extracurriculars and jobs can be replaced. It's almost like there's more skew towards people who are in the top 5%, 1%, really good storytellers. At any rate, let's take a look at this rubric. So on our scale, what would be considered we've never had a student, but by the way, who was between an 8 and a 9. Like all their essays were between an 8 and a 9 and did not get into a top 10 school. Like every single student we've worked with over the last 5 years were between an 8 and a 9, which would put you comfortably here on the rubric at a 1. Yes, did get into basically a top 10 school. I think all top, like their top choice school. So most of the essays that we get, I haven't even looked at this essay yet, but I'm guessing it's somewhere between a 6 and a 7. And I'll explain why. And today I want to take a little bit more time talking about how we can upgrade a 6 and a 7 to an 8 and a 9. I think in some of the previous live streams, I've just been like, okay, this is a 6 and moved on, which I recognize is not the most helpful. So today I wanted to take a deeper dive into this profile. And I want you guys to really not just look at this profile in isolation and this essay, but really think about how you can apply these same techniques, strategies, and tips to your own story. Like no matter what, guys, whether you're in middle school, high school, college, you're going to be applying for stuff for a long time. You'll be applying to be a professor or graduate school or a job or, you know, to get a scholarship and so on and so forth. So really, this is one of the most important skills, and it's very AI proof, right? Because like nobody else can tell your story. Only you can tell your story. And there's degrees to it. Like how well you tell your story is going to affect the number and quality of opportunities that you get in your life over the short term and long term. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on here. What is a man? I'm not going to read it out loud, but you guys can read it and we'll kind of analyze it together. One of the first things that I'm looking for when it comes to an essay is the number one problem. The number one problem, do you guys know what it is? Maybe you guys can type it in the chat. The number one problem when it comes to these nonfiction, creative nonfiction pieces, personal essays, is the problem-solution ratio. Or in more detail, we call it the problem-solution reflection ratio. So over 50% of your, so some people said the issue is a bad hook or not having it be about themselves. It's kind of related to the problem-solution ratio, actually. Over 60% of your essay should feature you, solution, you doing things. Solution can mean you growing and or you helping others. So let's color code this and see how much is solution. I think that all of this is essentially problem. I plan to tell Fritz. It still feels like background information. Okay, but then he says, I'm consoling him. I had to find information. I'm reading. I discovered there were many factors. So I spent nights planning steps. Okay, so one really great thing about this essay is that he does jump into the solution very early, already in like the second main paragraph. This is a pretty classic first solution. Essentially, we're searching for some kind of academic solution, right? We're reading, we're studying, and we're trying to use that information to help other people. Very, very classic solution. It's good, it's classic, but it still needs like a little bit more of a twist. And I'm wondering to myself, is this so impressive that it would absolutely demand admission to Harvard, Stanford, Yale, MIT, whatever, New York, NYU, to your dream school, right? So your solution must be impressive enough that it demands admission. All right, in the morning, I'm on the phone and he's scribbling, recording answers. So a lot of this is, now he's kind of transforming from like the passive reading to writing, which is good. This is really, really good. It's very classic. I would say like everything right now with the profile feels a little classic. It feels good, but it's not exceptional or unexpected. You're gonna have to take some level of a risk. What would make this narrative arc really, really work? It would basically be like a double problem solution. I'm gonna type it out in the chat. But basically the first problem and first solution is more academic. It's more focused on intellectual curiosity. And then the second problem solution is grander, meaning it affects more than one person. It's more of like a systemic solution or a systematic solution, I guess in some ways you could say. And it influences more than just, you know, this one person that he's helping pop up, which is good. It's good to focus on one character. But in the second problem solution, we want to expand to society at large. Like you created a program or you created an app, you created a tool so that it would help more than just pop up, but like hundreds or thousands of people like pop up. So that's a very classic double problem solution framework. And the double problem solution is actually modeled after like Freytag's pyramid. So you guys have probably heard or seen Freytag's pyramid in the past. It looks like this essentially. Let me see if I can open it. So it's opening to a video. But yeah, we have an inciting incident and then some sort of solution. The student tries something, it doesn't work. They persevere, they succeed, hit the climax. It kind of looks like two check marks. All right, let's come back to this essay over here though. He's not here, Kevin, he is here, Fritz. So very, very emotional. I will say that, yeah, there's definitely, he's definitely trying to tug at the heartstrings, and it is to some extent working. The event gave new meaning. So relationships were demystified by pop-ups, precedents, and it triggered more archive memories. I'm kind of curious, what do you guys think? Is this story sufficiently emotional? Do you guys think it's landing with you? Feel free to be as critical or honest as you feel. For me, it feels like it's trying to be emotional, but I'm not sure if it really is. But maybe that's because I'm too jaded and I've read like thousands of essays. Okay, let's talk about the twice cooked pork. I still feel like a lot of this has essentially transformed into problem. Yeah, it feels like a bit of a stretch because it's his friend's grandfather, not his. I completely agree with that. E-family, first comment of the day, but it's a banger one. Yeah, I agree with that. My approach to grief has seeped over, and I'm applying this principle at my friend's place. Okay, so this is what I meant, where we need to expand to a larger solution, right? And he kind of leaves this super rushed in the last, literally in the second to last sentence. This deserves its own paragraph as well. And I don't think we needed as many like emotional details over here. So right now, this essay is fine. It kind of gets the job done. I would probably put it closer to a, well, I would say there is emotion, but it didn't quite work. It's probably between a 6 and a 7. Between a 6 and a 7 on our scale. When we say PS ratio, that means the problem solution ratio. Neon Goalie says, I feel like it's trying but falling into the trap of just talking about another family member's illness. Yeah, again, it's kind of returning back to the problem you guys pointed out, which is we need the story to focus more on you than anyone else. All right, so let me just pause actually today and see if you guys have any questions, and I'm happy to answer whatever's on your mind, kind of like a Kevin AMA, ask me anything. In the meantime, I'm going to drop a link for more profiles in the chat. So if you guys want me to review your profile live right here, right now, just fill it out on this Google form and I'll take a peek at it. Let me just, yeah, I'm trying to like talk in the stream and at the same time see what new responses are coming in on the form. So How many people filled it out today? Oh, actually, we got a bunch of people who just filled it out. It looks like a lot of students tend to be international students. And let me see. Okay, we have a student here with, wow, national and international recognition, highest rigor. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Yeah, in the meantime, I'm happy to see, to answer questions you guys might have. Let me stop sharing this other screen for a second. What are your thoughts on montage essays instead of story-based ones? The montage approach is one of the most successful. At this point, like I feel like if you guys are walking into a kitchen and you've never cooked anything before, then this montage approach helps so much. For those of you guys who don't know what the montage approach is, let me share my screen and explain. We also have a whole video about it on our channel. But basically, it's like this 3-scene essay where we have 3 completely different moments, 3 different people, and then it comes together towards the end. Like, out of 10 students I've coached who have written the montage essay, 80% killed it. They did super duper well. I think they all like got into an incredible school, but 7 or 8 got into their most ideal school. I definitely think it's one of the best approaches. I almost always tell students to begin with a montage essay, like write a montage essay in the summer, and then I will analyze it and see, oh, this scene is really good. It could be its own essay. Or actually these, like I'll have them write 5 scenes and we'll pick the best 3 and put them together. So it's just a very incredible exploratory exercise as well, that I highly recommend to most students. Do colleges need any evidence for extracurricular activities? Actually, interestingly enough, they don't really look at evidence unless they're just going to believe you. Like they don't have time to be a private investigator and look through every single honor and award. If you get in and like something's not adding up, your guidance counselor and what you say, there's like a mismatch, or they get a tip. Sometimes this happens at like really competitive schools. They're like, hey, so-and-so said they won this crazy award, but they didn't. And they have cause to investigate, and then they do investigate, and they see that you're missing an award, then yeah, that's a problem, and you can get rescinded. But they wouldn't even do that in the initial like stage where they're accepting or rejecting you. Like there was a girl, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this like Asian South Dakota Yale girl where she faked an entire profile, and they didn't find out until like years later, until actually she'd already been on campus. So that doesn't happen during the actual, what is it called? Doesn't happen during the actual admissions process, but hopefully that answers your question. Okay, if the hours are really exaggerated, will they question or potentially investigate? Again, I went to an NYU workshop on fraud, and they're like, even this is not the biggest problem in the world. Like we're talking about fraud on a level of falsified schools, transcripts. That's when they start to get really, really, like that's the level of fraud that they're talking about. Of course, I cannot say like, hey, you can and should embellish the number of hours and years and things like that. But I will say from the admission officer's basically mouth that that wouldn't be enough to destroy your application. Okay. I'm the person from the first and second streams. I forgot to mention I'm the lead app developer for my middle school. That's okay. I mean, you can just send a quick update to them, letting them know. All right. With no code software. Honestly, if it's no code, it's kind of less impressive. Okay. Any other questions? Give me 1 second, guys. I am going to take a quick peek. Please keep sending me your questions. I'm just going to take a quick peek at who sent over their Common App and things like that for me to review. I want to take a look at some students who just uploaded their work in the past couple of minutes. Again, I cannot review everyone's, but I will do my best to review the ones I think are going to be most helpful to this stream. Okay, actually, I think I have a really good one over here. So I'm seeing so many STEM applications, man. Maybe eventually we'll get a humanities kid. I say this as like a humanities kid myself. Okay, so I see some other questions here. Yeah, you guys want to see some more why our school essays. The why our school essays are very dependent on the school. Like the prompts are very different and quirky and unique. There's no one size fits all sort of question. Has the weight of Olympiads decreased? No. Long story short, no. They've like always been a huge gateway to getting into great schools, but you have to score really, really high, right? Or you score like top 10%, and then you're also top 10% at like a completely different discipline. Like you're top 10% at a math Olympiad and then top 10% in philosophy or anthropology. That will help. Okay. If you guys want a paid essay review, we offer that all year round, and many of the editors are more experienced and better than me. Honestly, that's why we hired them. So the link to getting your essay for a formal review is over here, since some of you guys asked. All right, there's this new applicant over here, and let's take a look at it. Super duper impressive. Let's share the profile and dig in. Keep shooting me, you guys. Just keep shooting me questions. It's hard to speak sometimes. All right, here's the second application we're going to break down today together. And I'm trying to teach you guys, right? I'm trying to train you guys so that eventually one day you might not need me. Let's again revisit our rubric over here. So we're trying to figure out, is this truly insanely unusual, top 1%? Is it kind of like top 10%? Would be like between a 1 and a 2. I think there should be like honestly a new category. Maybe this should be like pushed down. Like what the 4, well, I don't know why 4 even exists here. Pretend 3 is 4 and 2 is 3. Okay, so here's the resume. Oh, that's the one we just looked at. Okay, here it is. So first we have Latino Youth STEM workshops. That's really, really good. One of the best ways you can make like a very classic STEM workshop activity more unique is you pick some demographic, you know, like I had a student who did this, robotics workshops, but it was for homeless children. But picking a particular demographic helps, especially, I'm assuming this student is also Latino. Really, really impressive. Wow, definitely. This is, yeah, super scientific. I love what I'm seeing. Right now, my one qualm is like everything seems to be from 11th and 12th grade. So we want to see something that, you know, is proof that the student has been doing an activity for 3 to 4 years. Super hardcore research, very, very impressive. Basic, yeah, as I can see, it's like a really highly skewed STEM applicants with research. And then we've co-founded a nonprofit. However, again, everything looks like it started junior year, which is a little sus, a little bit close to the deadline. Here, this has been doing for 4 years, which is good, completely different. It's music. Yeah, this is a top 1% profile, at least top 5%. I can confident this is probably one of the best profiles we've seen on these streams. You guys are being a little bit, EC2 and 3 feel over exaggerated. Let's go back to 2 and 3 over here. They built the simulator. And then they engineered a real time. It seems pretty legit to me, especially if they were doing it at an official university. The independent one might be a little bit more sus, but if like you get your teacher to back you up and say that like, wow, this teacher was advising them on this project. But yeah, this neon goalie is a little bit right. It's nice to be admission officers too, maybe a little bit cynical. But yeah, good stuff. Let me take a look at some of the bottom activities. Solid, really, really solid. And then we have jazz band. Okay, so a clear kind of like skew towards physics and music. And then we have some service. But all in all, I would ping this as way, way closer to a 1 than a 2. It's a little bit weird that we're missing, like the student you kind of want to be part of a power club at school, like head of the robotics team, something you've been doing for 3-4 years. The power clubs would be like Model UN, debate, student government, all that helps. Right now, that is some of the challenges where we're seeing everything's from 11th and 12th grade. There's only 2 activities we've been doing for 3 or 4 years, which is a little bit funky. And then nothing seems to be related to school. But maybe this student they go to a fine arts school. Interesting. So it kind of makes sense. Like now I'm inferring that there wouldn't be many STEM opportunities at a fine arts school. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the personal statement. And again, this is our essay rubric. I'll send over the essay rubric in the chat. And you guys can open it, take a look. When it says 1%, this is like statistically, if 100 students uploaded their essays to our portal or to a university, like it's really only, we're going to get 1% who are in a 9 and so on and so forth. So a 6 is kind of like a very average essay. And then a 5 would be below average. So let's take a look at this essay. Really, really nice hook. I like what's going on here. Can instantly tell that this is more of like an intellectual curiosity themed essay. And yeah, we have basically like this, girl working with her sister and doing quantum experiments, and she's building a DIY cloud chamber. Okay, it's kind of wild. I definitely think this student is going to get into a top 10 school if they haven't already. They might even be watching this stream. I'm curious. Are you here, Lua? And if you are, did you get into like, I think the worst thing that could happen to you is you get into UT Austin, which is a top 5 like tech program. Oh, you did UT at Arlington. Okay, for some reason I thought it said UT Austin. At any rate, this is a very, very good essay. Does feel like there's a decent amount of like background information, and I want to see hi Lua. I've already been admitted to UT Austin. Okay, see, called it. UT Austin is a top 5 tech program, just right on par with Stanford and MIT. There you go. I wouldn't be surprised if you got into other colleges as well. There, nice. Yay, congrats. Go Lua. So happy for you. Thanks for being here. Okay. I paused, handed her the flashlight. All this is looking good. Yeah, I just think that right now it's I'm not seeing so much of Lua being like very proactive and leader-like. It seems a little bit more of like a relationship-based essay where it's a bit more reflection, and I kind of find myself wondering, yeah, we didn't see that much actual solution. So the hook was incredible, but if I'm being completely frank, it does start to feel a little bit more like an average essay. Here you talk about Newton's garden, but it feels like basically a copy from your resume. This is where things are a little bit more interesting, but I don't really see Lua in the picture here. So I think that, in my opinion, it's a good essay. It's still probably between like a 6 and a 7. I think it's closer to a 7. It's very well written. There isn't crazy amounts of emotion, but there was some really good personality, and we definitely get a sense of like your passion and your quantum. If I had to like suggest the strategy, like we know you're really good at quantum, and there's going to be an essay that says why our school, why this major, and I probably would have wrote more about that there. And instead for the main essay, I actually would have talked more about like your Latino background, service, family, things like that. Like I think I probably would have honed in more on you and your sister's relationship. And even though you teach her about a ton about quantum, maybe she teaches you a ton about some other completely different, unrelated subject. Let's say it's like Latin American magical realism, which is something I studied a lot. And you're like, wow, there's actually a lot of magic in both quantum and magical realism. And then you wrote like a cool essay about that. So I think that this essay could have been stronger just from the concept stage. Obviously, it's working. And when you guys are applying as STEM applicants, you don't need to write the greatest essay of all time. You just need to write essays that are better than other STEM applicants. That's the way that the admissions game works. Let me show you guys something very interesting. But when you apply to a school, they, let me just take a quick look at the comments over here. Okay, at any rate, when you apply to a school, they compare you to people from your same region. Like if you take a look at Karen, Karen literally is only responsible for this, mainly this school called Princeton High School and the New Jersey area. Whitney is responsible for these countries. Zach is responsible for this region. And so they're going to compare you, Lua, for example, to other Latin American, Hispanic girls from Texas, I imagine, who are interested in quantum. They would never compare you to Kevin from boarding school. And so, yeah. That's why I'm always saying, like, you guys want to show that you're elite within your context, right? So they would never even compare someone from Nigeria to someone from California. It's just two different people evaluating that application. If Jake thinks your application's awesome and you're from Arizona or California, then he'll bring it to the committee. So that's usually how the game works. Okay, I keep getting this question from Clipsa. Is YYAS as valuable as YYGS? What is YYAS? Oh, I see. I'm not sure. I don't know this question off the top of my head, but I think the answer is Googleable. Okay, Lua, thank you so much. I'm so glad you've been watching our videos and you found them helpful. Again, you don't need a perfect essay to get in. If I had to rate your essay, I would say it's like between a 2 and a 3. But your extracurriculars are pretty goated. And I'm sure your rec letters were awesome. And I'm sure your academics were great too. And so all this helps a lot. There you go. Love of learning. I think there's a lot of like great academic curiosity here. So I imagine you're going to get into many, many incredible tech schools. And yeah, send me an email when you do. And I'd be happy to send a congratulatory gift your way. All right, guys. So that is pretty much it for today. I am going to try to work this week on creating our own rubric. What other videos should we make? What other topics should we answer? I'm here to serve. And what do I love to see most when I read applications? I mean, I want to highlight really incredible stories, right? So we can break them down and analyze them together. MIT for admission regions, yeah, they do the same thing. They'll do the same thing. Okie doke. So again, if you just keep submitting your responses to our form, if you submit it more than once, I will take that as a sign that you're very committed, and I'll do my best to prioritize it. I'll try to do at least 2 every live stream, maybe 3. But the ones that I want to highlight are really great examples, right? So students who have truly unusual extracurriculars, students who have written insanely good, personal essays, that would be awesome to highlight. And I'm just really, really thankful that you guys are here. I would not make these videos if I was just like shouting into the void. I'm here to serve, I'm here to help. And it really means a lot for you guys to join. Thank you for joining. Okay, cybersecurity is actually really good for STEM focus. It's way more unique. You're welcome, eFamily. And yeah, just let me know, like share this stream with your friends. Tell kids who are 1 year below that Kevin's cool, follow the channel. That's probably the biggest thing you can do. Don't forget to like the video and just leave a kind comment, not just on the stream, but on the actual video itself. It really helps. And I think that is pretty much it for today. One thing for juniors, if you guys are watching this as a junior or senior, if you're watching this as a senior, okay, my advice for you as seniors is start looking into scholarships. Like a lot of the seniors now are starting to just check out mentally, but there's a lot of money up for grabs. And I've been talking to scholarship partners and they're like, every year there's more money than applicants. And if you're already getting into a top 10, top 20 school, you can recycle many essays. And I'm talking with, let's say 10 hours of work, you could get 10 grand in scholarships. Pretty sweet deal to me. And it's good because many kids aren't thinking about that right now. If you're a junior, your priority should be building your profile and getting those truly unusual awards, more national, international recognition, and summer programs. There's a lot of terrific summer programs that are due in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's like your highest leverage activity. With just a few hours of work, you could get into a great summer program, and it helps. For example, YYGS, the student who kept asking about it, if you apply to YYGS and you get in and you go, your odds of getting into Yale, if you again apply early for Yale your senior year, go up. We're talking upwards of 10, 15%. Some people say as high as 20 or 25%. I had a student who I have thought had absolutely zero chance at getting into Brown. And she did the Brown pre-college program, which by the way is not very hard to get into. But then she got an amazing rec letter from her teacher at the Brown pre-college program. And this teacher wasn't even like a crazy talented professor. It was just a graduate student who was like me, like 23, 24. Actually, I'm 27. But anyways, she got a rec letter from this graduate student, applied early to Brown and got in. And I was pretty shocked. So these summer programs really, really help. Again, you can also apply, get in, and choose not to go. And that's still a flex because many of them these days are getting more and more selective and can count as national or international awards. All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'll be back next week. I'm going to create like the new calendar and schedule it. And I'm just so thankful you guys are here. All right. I hope these are useful and take it easy and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take it easy, guys. Bye.